You know, he's like, oh, you're my idol. And I'm like, wow, like, I appreciate that. That's really cool. You know?
When talking about baseball's biggest enigmas, Bryce Harper's got to be in the conversation. This guy racked up 2 NL MVPs, a Rookie of the Year, and 4 Silver Sluggers. His prime was all about monster stats and viral moments, yet half the baseball world still wonders if he really lived up to the hype. So, did he? Let's settle it. The pinnacle of excellence, Harper's prime achievements. When you think about athletic greatness, there are certain players who seem destined for immortality from the moment they first step onto the field. Bryce Harper was one of those players, but what makes his story so compelling isn't just the raw talent, it's how he transformed that potential into sustained excellence during what many consider the most remarkable prime years in recent baseball memory.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the things that you think about, obviously, when you get to spring training every year. I mean, and as you go throughout your career, you know, you look at Dan Marino, right? He got there his first year and never got back. Like, you look at people that have got there and never got back, or gotten so close a couple times and never got one.
This perspective on legacy and achievement perfectly encapsulates Harper's mindset entering his prime years. Harper's prime, spanning roughly 2018-2025, tells a story of unprecedented consistency and clutch performance. The numbers alone are staggering. 279 batting average, 30 home runs, 83 runs batted in, .915, on-base plus slugging, 145 adjusted on-base plus slugging, and 3.4 wins above replacement per 162 games during his prime years. But what made Harper's prime truly special wasn't just the statistical dominance, it was the context in which these numbers were achieved. When Harper signed his historic 13-year, $330 million contract with Philadelphia in 2019, the pressure wasn't just about individual performance, it was about transforming an entire franchise, carrying the hopes of a city, and proving that the biggest contracts in baseball history could actually deliver championships. The crown jewel of Harper's prime stands as his magnificent 2021 season, posting a slash line of 309, 429, 615, with 35 home runs, 84 runs batted in, and a career-high 615 slugging percentage. Harper didn't just put up great numbers, he carried a Phillies team that desperately needed leadership. His 5.9 wins above replacement that season rivaled his legendary 2015 campaign, but this time it came with the wisdom and maturity of a player who had learned from years of both triumph and disappointment.
Right, like, obviously, MVPs, Silver Sluggers, Gold Gloves, like, that's all really cool stuff individually, and I would never take that for granted. Like, I love those things.
This quote reveals Harper's appreciation for individual accolades, but his prime years would prove that team success was what truly drove him. The transformation of the Phillies under Harper's leadership became one of the most compelling storylines of modern baseball. Under his guidance, Philadelphia reached the playoffs in 2022, 2023, and 2024, marking a dramatic turnaround for a franchise that had struggled for nearly a decade. The statistical dominance during Harper's prime extended far beyond traditional metrics. His StatCast data consistently showed elite exit velocity, 91.4 mph average, hard hit rate, 49.2%, and barrel rate, 12.9%, confirming that his raw power remained top tier throughout his prime. His weighted on-base average consistently exceeded .370 in prime years, significantly outperforming league averages of approximately 315.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team we've talked about it, and, you know, obviously Philly fans, man, when you're winning, when you're playing well, they're showing up and supporting, and, you know, being able to come to the ballpark every night and know that they're going to show up is an amazing feeling.
The connection Harper forged with Philadelphia became central to his prime year's success. The relationship transcended mere statistics. It was about cultural transformation and mutual respect. Harper's integration of Philadelphia's identity into his personal brand, including custom cleats featuring the Phillies Fanatics green color scheme, demonstrated his genuine commitment to the city. Perhaps no aspect of Harper's prime was more impressive than his postseason performance. His career playoff statistics through 2025 include a .276 batting average, 15 home runs, 32 runs batted in, and a remarkable 1.016 on-base plus slugging in 59 games, ranking 5th all-time among players with 150-plus plate appearances. These weren't just good numbers, they represented elite performance when the stakes were highest and the pressure was most intense. The 2022 postseason stands as the defining moment of Harper's prime years. His NLCS MVP performance, featuring 5 home runs and a 1.093 .328 on-base plus slugging led the Phillies to their first World Series appearance since 2009. This wasn't just individual brilliance, it was leadership in its purest form, a superstar elevating his entire team when it mattered most.
You really, we don't care where you're from, who you are, what you do, what type of demeanor you had on different teams, or if people liked you on different teams, or if they didn't like you on different teams. We don't care, because when you come into our clubhouse, it's different. Like you're part of our team.
This leadership philosophy became the cornerstone of Harper's prime years. The player, who had once been criticized for his perceived arrogance, had evolved into a unifying force capable of bringing together diverse personalities around a common goal. This transformation from individual star to team leader represents perhaps the most significant development of Harper's prime. The advanced metrics during Harper's prime tell a story of sustained excellence that few players in baseball history have matched. His adjusted on-base plus slugging during prime years consistently exceeded 140, placing him among the top 5% of hitters in baseball. To maintain that level of performance over multiple seasons while carrying the pressure of being a franchise centerpiece is extraordinarily rare in professional sports. The hardware accumulated during Harper's prime speaks to his sustained dominance. 2 MVP awards in 2015 and in 2021, 8 All-Star selections, 4 Silver Slugger awards, and his 2022 NLCS MVP trophy represent just the formal recognition of his excellence. Harper reached the 300 home run milestone in 2023, putting him on pace for 500-plus career home runs and cementing his Hall of Fame trajectory.
For you, and he goes, man, I can't believe I'm playing against you right now. This is incredible. And so those moments kind of flash into my head too, where I'm like, man, this is awesome. He's like, oh, you're my idol.
The impact Harper had on younger players during his prime years revealed the true depth of his influence. This wasn't just about personal statistics. It was about inspiring a new generation of players and changing how baseball could be played and celebrated. Harper became one of just 8 players to reach 300 home runs, 900 bases on balls, and maintain a 140-plus adjusted on-base plus slugging through age 30, joining an exclusive club that includes only Hall of Famers or future inductees. This level of sustained excellence across multiple statistical categories places him among the elite performers in baseball history. The cultural impact of Harper's prime extended beyond statistics. His advocacy for player expression and his Make Baseball Fun Again campaign helped usher in a new era of personality and excitement in the sport. During his prime years, Harper proved that elite performance and cultural influence could coexist, creating a template for how modern superstars could impact the game. His prime wins above replacement pace of 3 to 6 per year compares favorably to Hall of Famers like Jeff Bagwell and Joey Votto, placing him among the elite first basemen and outfielders of his generation. When adjusted for the era in which he played and the pressure he faced, Harper's prime numbers become even more impressive.
That's my biggest thing to a lot of guys in our clubhouse too, is be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else, because they drafted you for a reason.
This philosophy encapsulated Harper's approach during his prime, the perfect balance of individual excellence and team-first mentality that separated him from other talented players. The combination of elite performance, mature leadership, and cultural influence created a player who was arguably at his absolute peak during these crucial years. But as remarkable as Harper's prime achievements were, his career trajectory was forever altered by a series of injuries that tested his resilience and forced dramatic changes to his approach to the game. When the body breaks down. Behind every legendary baseball career lies a story of physical sacrifice, and few players have paid a higher price than Bryce Harper. From his earliest days as a fearless rookie diving headfirst into walls to his current status as a surgically reconstructed veteran, Harper's career reads like a medical textbook of everything that can go wrong with the human body under the extreme stresses of professional baseball. The injury narrative began almost immediately after Harper entered the major leagues. As early as 2011 in the minor leagues, Harper suffered a sprained ankle during an intra-squad game, followed by a pulled hamstring that ended his season early. These early setbacks foreshadowed what would become a career-long battle against his own body's limitations. What made Harper's injury history particularly devastating was his aggressive style of play. In 2013, his collision with the outfield wall while chasing a fly ball against the Dodgers resulted in concussion symptoms, a chin laceration requiring 11 stitches, and shoulder problems. This wasn't just bad luck. It was the inevitable consequence of a player who refused to hold anything back back, even when self-preservation might have been the wiser choice.
Wasn't pretty good pain. A little scared at the same time because I could feel a little bit more on the lower half of it.
This raw vulnerability in Harper's voice when discussing injury reveals the psychological toll that accumulated over his career. Each setback brought not just physical pain, but genuine fear about the long-term implications for his ability to play the game he loved. The most significant early career injury came in 2014, when Harper tore the UCL in his left thumb, diving headfirst into third base against the Padres. The injury required surgery and limited him to just 100 games, contributing to a disappointing season that fueled overrated debates. More importantly, it marked the beginning of a pattern where injuries would consistently derail Harper's momentum just as he seemed to be reaching new heights. The cumulative effect of these early injuries began to reshape how Harper approached the game. The hyperextended left knee suffered in 2017 when he slipped on wet first base against the Giants raised initial fears of a season-ending injury. While he returned for the postseason, the 42-game absence cost him any chance at MVP consideration despite an outstanding season.
I don't know. I'll see how I feel tomorrow. I've never really had any problems with hamstring or anything like that.
The uncertainty and hesitation in Harper's voice when discussing new injuries became a recurring theme throughout his career. Each physical setback carried the weight of accumulated trauma, making even minor ailments feel potentially catastrophic. But it was the devastating sequence of injuries in 2022 that fundamentally altered Harper's career trajectory. The partial UCL tear in his right elbow, diagnosed on May 12, 2022, forced him into a designated hitter role. This was compounded by a fractured left thumb, suffered when hit by a 97 mph fastball from Blake Snell on June 25th, creating a perfect storm of physical adversity. The decision to undergo Tommy John surgery on November 23, 2022, represented the most significant medical intervention of Harper's career. This wasn't just about repairing damaged tissue, it was about completely reconstructing his throwing arm using advanced surgical techniques typically reserved for pitchers.
Long ways to go. I think just trying to take it day by day and be grateful for the day that I'm in. Grateful for the workout that I'm doing or that next step. So just really trying to hit every mark, hit every step, and go from there.
The patience and philosophical approach Harper displayed during his Tommy John recovery revealed how years of injury management had changed his perspective. The fiery young player, who once threw helmets in frustration, had evolved into someone who understood that healing required both physical and mental discipline. Harper's return from Tommy John surgery in just 159 days broke the previous record for position players, demonstrating both the advancement of modern sports medicine and his incredible dedication to rehabilitation. But the true cost of the injury extended far beyond the recovery time. The forced transition from right field to first base represented one of the most significant position changes in modern baseball history. This move, necessitated by the need to preserve his surgically repaired elbow, fundamentally altered Harper's defensive value and required him to master an entirely new position at age 30. The psychological adjustment was perhaps even more challenging than the physical one. Throughout his career, Harper's injury history has been marked by its sheer volume and variety. From concussions to thumb fractures, knee problems to elbow reconstructions, he has experienced virtually every type of injury that can befall a baseball player. His average of approximately 134 games per season over his career, compared to the possible 162, represents hundreds of missed games and potentially 10 to 15 lost wins above replacement. The pattern of Harper's injuries reveals the toll that his aggressive playing style exacted over time. His early career wall collisions, which earned him comparisons to Pete Reiser for their recklessness, gradually gave way to more conventional baseball injuries as he matured, but the cumulative effect remained devastating.
Oh, absolutely. With the way it felt, I've had problems with my left knee before, so I've had surgery on it. It was definitely really scary. Didn't feel all that great when I was laying there. Pretty scary.
This honest admission of fear and vulnerability shows how the accumulation of injuries affected not just Harper's physical capabilities, but his emotional well-being. The knowledge that his body had betrayed him before made each new injury carry additional psychological weight. The 2024 season brought new challenges, with a low-grade hamstring strain and persistent wrist inflammation that required another injured list stint. These seemingly minor injuries took on greater significance given Harper's history and age, raising questions about long-term durability. The financial implications of Harper's injury history cannot be ignored, with his $330 million contract representing one of the largest investments in baseball history. Every injury carried enormous financial stakes for both player and franchise. The pressure to return quickly while ensuring long-term health created a constant tension that few athletes ever experience. Perhaps most remarkably, Harper's response to injury has evolved throughout his career. The reckless young player who once ignored pain and pushed through injuries has become a more strategic veteran who understands the importance of proper recovery. This maturation has allowed him to extend his career despite the accumulated damage. The broader impact of Harper's injury history extends beyond his individual career. His use of cutting-edge medical treatments, from platelet-rich plasma injections to advanced surgical techniques, has made him a case study in modern sports medicine. His recovery protocols and rehabilitation methods have influenced how other players approach similar injuries.
Bummer it happened.
Do you expect to have to go and undergo like MRI, stuff like that?
No, I mean, it's not to that point. I mean, if still feels pretty terrible tomorrow, the next day, then we'll take that.
The measured, careful approach Harper has developed toward injury management reflects hard-won wisdom. The player who once refused to acknowledge physical limitations has learned that longevity requires strategic thinking about when to push through pain and when to rest. Looking at the totality of Harper's injury history, it becomes clear that his career has been as much about overcoming physical adversity as achieving statistical excellence. The fact that he has remained an elite performer despite missing hundreds of games due to injury speaks to both his natural talent and incredible resilience. The story of Harper's injuries is ultimately one of adaptation and perseverance. Each setback forced him to evolve as a player, from the reckless wall crasher of his youth to the strategic veteran who understands that sometimes the greatest victory is simply staying healthy enough to compete. While his body may bear the scars of a career lived at maximum intensity, his ability to overcome physical adversity has become as much a part of his legend as any home run or MVP award. But physical battles were just one aspect of Harper's complex career narrative. His willingness to engage in verbal warfare and public confrontations created an entirely different kind of legacy. A career built on confrontation and controversy. From the moment Bryce Harper stepped into the spotlight as a 16-year-old on the cover of Sports Illustrated, controversy has followed him like a shadow. What began as teenage arrogance and youthful indiscretions evolved into something far more complex, a career-long pattern of confrontations, provocative statements, and headline-grabbing incidents that made Harper one of the most polarizing figures in modern sports history. The foundation of Harper's controversial reputation was laid long before he reached the major leagues. As early as 2009-2010, when he was just 16 to 17 years old, Harper was accused of taunting opponents, yelling at umpires and teammates, and displaying what scouts called top-of-the-scale arrogance. His ejection for drawing a line in the dirt to dispute a strike call during the 2010 National Junior College World Series earned him a 2-game suspension and cemented his reputation as a hothead. The transition to professional baseball only amplified these tendencies. Harper's 22 career ejections through 2025 lead all active players, creating a pattern of confrontation that spans his entire career. But it wasn't just the frequency of these incidents that made them controversial, it was the manner in which they occurred and the attitudes Harper displayed.
That, he said they was asking about this Braves player, he might have heard of Ronald Acuna. He said Ronald Acuna sucks. I said, Did you say that out loud, Bryce?
This casual dismissal of one of baseball's brightest young stars exemplifies Harper's willingness to make provocative statements that generate controversy. Whether motivated by competitive fire or genuine assessment, such comments consistently put him at the center of debates about sportsmanship and respect. The infamous "clown question bro" response during his rookie year became an instant meme and perfectly captured Harper's dismissive attitude toward what he considered ridiculous inquiries. While many found it amusing, others saw it as evidence of an arrogant young player who lacked proper respect for the media and baseball's traditions. Perhaps no single incident better encapsulates Harper's controversial nature than his 2017 brawl with Hunter Strickland. The fight, which stemmed from Harper's exuberant celebrations during the 2014 playoffs, saw him charge the mound and throw his helmet at Strickland after being hit by a pitch. The incident resulted in suspensions for both players and reignited debates about baseball's unwritten rules. The Strickland incident highlighted a central theme in Harper's controversial career: his refusal to conform to baseball's traditional expectations about emotional expression. His 2016 criticism of baseball as a tired sport for suppressing player celebrations became a rallying cry for those who wanted to modernize the game's culture. His "Make Baseball Fun Again" campaign challenged decades of conservative tradition.
And now this is allegedly what he said. But there's no allegedly what Bryce Harper said, because he told the commissioner, get the F out of the locker room. Okay. That's embarrassing for Bryce Harper.
The 2025 confrontation with MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred represents perhaps the most explosive controversy of Harper's career. The incident, which occurred during a routine clubhouse visit, saw Harper reportedly tell Manfred to get the effer out when the commissioner discussed potential salary cap measures. This wasn't just a momentary outburst, it was a direct challenge to the highest authority in baseball.
But I will say, Bryce Harper walking right up to the commissioner's face, saying, get the out of here.
Yeah.
Dog. Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The boys, I know there's some Spanish speakers in there that don't understand a lot of English, so maybe somebody had to translate to them what was happening there. That's what I learned at the home.
Oh, no, nobody needed to translate what was happening. When Bryce Harper's holding a bat and walks up to the commissioner and says, if you want to talk about a salary cap, you can, exactly what you said right there.
The image of Harper, bat in hand, confronting the commissioner became an instant symbol of player defiance. The incident divided opinion sharply, with some viewing it as inappropriate disrespect, while others saw it as necessary advocacy for player rights. But Harper's controversies extended beyond high-profile confrontations. Throughout his career, he has been involved in numerous incidents that generated negative headlines and reinforced his reputation as baseball's primary villain. From on-field ejections to provocative comments about opponents, Harper seemed to court controversy at every turn. The pattern of Harper's controversial behavior reveals a player who has consistently refused to conform to traditional expectations. His frequent ejections, often over arguments with umpires about balls and strikes, demonstrated a willingness to prioritize his principles over team needs. Critics argued that his confrontational style was selfish and counterproductive.
This, for me, definitely feels like a situation where more information is needed, because I can't figure out why the commissioner is in the locker room talking about a salary cap at all anyway. I'm not saying Bryce Harper was right, but I don't understand why it even got to the point where, the commissioner is in there.
This analysis of Harper's confrontation with Manfred illustrates how his controversies often exposed larger systemic issues within baseball. His conflicts weren't always just personal disputes, they frequently highlighted broader tensions between tradition and progress, individual expression and institutional control. Social media amplified every controversial moment, creating a constant stream of debate about Harper's character and motivations. Fans and analysts regularly debated whether his behavior was justified passion or unacceptable arrogance. The polarization was so complete that Harper became one of those rare athletes who inspired genuine hatred and devoted fandom in equal measure. The evolution of Harper's controversial reputation over time tells an interesting story. Early in his career, much of the criticism focused on perceived immaturity and disrespect for baseball's traditions. Players voted him most overrated in 2014-2015 polls, reflecting peer disapproval of his behavior. However, as Harper matured and achieved greater success, some of the criticism evolved into grudging respect. His willingness to challenge authority and fight for his principles began to be seen by some as leadership rather than troublemaking. The same traits that made him controversial also made him an effective advocate for player rights and cultural change.
It's like, hey, I'm in the prime of my career right now.
Skeens.
A guy like Skeens.
Skeens has not hit his big deal yet.
He hasn't had a big deal yet, exactly. So it's like, why the fuck? I'm putting up numbers that have never been seen before in the history of baseball.
This perspective on player economics helps explain Harper's willingness to engage in controversial confrontations throughout his career. As someone who had achieved financial security, he felt a responsibility to fight for younger players who hadn't yet reached free agency. His willingness to challenge authority figures paved the way for other players to speak out on issues they cared about. The financial stakes of Harper's controversies added another layer of complexity to his career narrative. With his massive contract making him one of the highest paid players in baseball history, every controversial incident carried the potential for significant financial consequences. Teams had to weigh his on-field value against the public relations challenges his behavior sometimes created. Perhaps most intriguingly, Harper's controversial nature seemed to fuel his competitive fire. Many of his most memorable performances came in direct response to criticism or perceived slights. The 2023 NLDS provides a perfect example. After being mocked by Orlando Arcia with an "attaboy Harper" comment, he responded with 2 home runs in the next game.
I mean, my swing feels fine. It's nothing physical or anything like that, or Anything swing-wise, it's just getting ahead in the count and hitting in good situations.
Even Harper's approach to discussing slumps and struggles revealed his controversial nature. Rather than offering excuses or elaborate explanations, he often provided matter-of-fact responses that some interpreted as dismissive or arrogant. The international dimension of Harper's controversies also cannot be ignored. His criticism of baseball's pace and traditions resonated differently in various markets and cultural contexts. What some American fans saw as refreshing honesty, others viewed as disrespectful to the game's heritage. The pattern of Harper's ejections throughout his career tells the story of a player who consistently prioritized his principles over personal convenience. From his rookie season through 2025, he accumulated ejections for arguing balls and strikes, disputing check swing calls, and confronting umpires about various decisions.
That's embarrassing for Bryce Harper. It really is. You got your players are there. The commissioner at least came in to talk to the players, and then you're gonna react that way instead of being mature. Instead of saying to Rob Manfred, let's talk about this.
This criticism of Harper's confrontational approach with Manfred encapsulates the ongoing debate about his methods. Critics consistently argued that his aggressive tactics undermined his legitimate concerns and made it harder to achieve meaningful change. The legacy of Harper's controversial career is still being written, but certain patterns have emerged. His willingness to challenge authority and speak his mind made him a lightning rod for criticism throughout his career. Yet the same traits that made him controversial also made him an effective advocate for change and a compelling figure who generated passionate responses from fans and critics alike. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.